Good afternoon, my dear listeners, and welcome back to the CSA Cafe, where we talk about controversial topics about everything, anywhere, about anyone. As always, I'm your host Ash, and today's sip is coming in hot, so grab your favorite drink, book, and get comfy. Whew! Well, it has been a year, truly. I am back, and I was not lying. Previously, in my surprise update video, I've mentioned why I've been going AWOL and I've disappeared for, quite frankly, almost a year. From November 2024 till now, I've essentially disappeared on the face of the earth, and I don't want to get into too much detail in that because I made a video about why I was gone, but I am back. CSA Cafe Comeback 2025. I'm going to make this real, and I don't want to disappoint my fans. But it has been a hot minute since this intro. I bet everybody has missed hearing this. So Ash is back. I always kept saying I did promise I did promise an episode coming very quickly, from when I said it back on Halloween to Christmas to the New Year. I don't want to say I lied, but it never happened because so much things happened. But now I'm back better than ever, and going forward there's going to be rapid fire many episodes going forward. Again, however, the speed of when my videos will come out will be still quite slow, but rest assured, this channel is back to being active and there will be videos. So, woo! Alright? And so, because I'm back, this officially starts, or rather restarts, as the third episode. Well, here I go. Today's episode was originally created on the spot because of some scenario that happened during lunchtime for me at home. Immediately upon whatever was happening during that lunch hour, it prompted me to immediately write up a script for today's episode because it was quite a great idea. And I was thinking everybody should know this because I don't think I'm the only one that feels like this. And so, therefore, today's episode is going to be about self-awareness and or the lack thereof it. So, by definition, from Google itself, self-awareness is defined as a conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. The psychological definition of self-awareness also falls under the same umbrella. They define self-awareness as the knowledge of self in three basic areas: cognitive, physical, and emotional. Now, knowing these definitions, let me get started in asking my listeners a question for the day, to guide them throughout this episode. The question is, are you ever consciously aware of other people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors when you speak, or before you speak? Have you ever thought about the weight of your words in which they carry and the impact it causes to others? So, to simplify, is that whenever you're about to converse with someone, or someone's conversing with you, they want to speak to you, or when you want to say something, before you even speak, do you ever think consciously first as to what words you're going to use and how you're going to phrase them in order for people to not get affected by it? The reason why I'm asking you this is because, as a perfectionist myself, I'm always cautious and wary of how I say things, what I say, and how it should be put. Because it might just be me because I'm neurodivergent, but I I honestly, everything that I do and or say, I always keep thinking about how it'll impact someone. And especially if I know this person's baseline personality, of knowing how they will react to certain things, it prompts my brain even more so to carefully speak to them and not speak to them the way I would usually do. The reason being is because I'm still on the journey of discovering that I am an undiagnosed autistic person as opposed to ADHD, although I now think I have both, but I feel like I'm more predominantly autistic than I am ADHD. And I think that the more you know a person, the better it gets for me to navigate around them. So the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm a very self-reflexive person as well. And I always reflect on what happens during the day. At the end of the day, I always reflect on what I have done or said to a person, whether or not it's a good or bad thing. And that to me helps me stay grounded and be a humble person and not really get into my head too much. You understand what I'm saying? And the reason why I deemed this a controversial topic because in a way it is. At least I think so. I see it as it is because I don't think there's only like one type of person or that only doesn't think before they speak. You understand what I'm saying? However, there are some people that honestly don't think and just speak whatever. But I feel like that's different than, oh, it's because your brain chemistry is wired differently that you are very blunt and you tend to blurt out the most weird, truthful things, even though it might hurt someone because it jabs you in the heart and it hurts. But I feel like this is different than that. Like some people would like to still hear the truth even though it hurts because they don't like being lied to, aka me. But there are some people that literally don't care about other people's feelings and just says whatever just because, and then glosses it over and sugarcoats it as you're supposed to be truthful and not lie and be real. And then I think this is where it falls into it's a blurred line, a very thin line of, I guess, morals and values, what you believe in. This is where it gets confusing, because of that blurred line right there. It's because with how I'm brought up, being in an Asian family, particularly a Chinese family, the way their culture speaks it not only bothers me a lot, but it's wrong in so many levels. It's honestly wrong in very, very so many levels, because I not only do I not like it because of the volume control idea of them like yelling and like, and then them deeming it as, this is how I talk, this is my normal volume. Some people can filter that volume portion out and just put it as, oh, this is how so and so just speaks. I just now tune it out and think it's their normal speaking volume. I can't do that. The more I realize I'm autistic, the older I get, the more autistic I get, because now I'm consciously aware that I'm definitely on the spectrum, Notice how I only ever speak loudly or that my volume rises whenever I'm passionate about something, whenever I'm excited about something, when I'm happy about something, my tone and my volume immediately increases. But otherwise, I'm still learning. I don't know. It's still kind of fluctuating here, but I feel like I'm normally a very soft-spoken person. Like I have a baseline volume. I have yet to discover what that is and how that is. But like I wouldn't always yell because I it would honestly be hurting your throat. You're straining your voice, you're straining your throat, and everything is just it's just painful, when you see it and you hear it. I'm just like, what? You'll be thinking, why won't this person ever feel tired or have like a sore throat by the end of their speech? You get what I mean? And so with that, other than it being a tone issue, a volume issue, and like a bluntness error, I guess, is also the context in which they're speaking. Like, depending on the topic of what's being discussed, they don't there's people that don't know how to read the room, or there's people that honestly don't have a filter at all, and that they would speak about certain topics, like in public, outside, or when there's other strangers around them. I now don't care because I don't think it's anything that would get me in trouble, because I'm not speaking to them, but I'm speaking to like my friends or something. But like I still wouldn't speak about certain things. Like literally things that would get other people's attention to go like, "Oh my god, why do they sound like such a terrible person?" And how, like, or like getting reactions like, how could you say that to them? That's your family, that's your wife, that's your husband, that's your whomever. Those are the comments that kind of get me really cheesed and riled up so bad. To give you a little bit of context, I come from a background of two separate degrees of many things. I come from a social work background, and I come from a background of gender studies, sociology, and English. Now, social work, gender studies, and sociology, they can all entirely they're correlated, they're linked together, and they're very similar. And with the common denominator of all those three things comes social justice and equity and equality and all that jazz. And so you can definitely you'll see my personality come out more and more as this podcast keeps going, as I get more comfortable speaking in front of the camera, that things like disability justice, social justice in general, equity, equality issues, LGBTQ gender issues, racism, discrimination, and all that it encompasses in that umbrella of gender studies. I that's the only time you'll hear me ever raise my voice, because that's one of the many areas that I'm passionate in, not just because I studied it, but even before I even got into the programs, I was already quite locked in and really interested in like accessibility issues and all that stuff, and I mean, in the future, I would like to be some sort of, like, I want to be a social worker, or like a behavioral therapist, or like a special needs counselor, like anything encompassing social services and speaking to people and having, like, speaking to clients every day in an office setting is like my go-to dream career, because I feel like that's the only thing that I would excel in, as well as something that I would really like, and that I really, really like helping people in general. So this career is perfect for me. You get what I mean? Right? And so, I'm sorry, I'm going off topic here. But what I'm trying to say for this episode is that all of everything that I've said thus far about what bothers me and how there's some people that are like, this. Who I'm really describing is, of course, my family. And going with this podcast is that the main goal idea was for me to kind of like air out all my dirty laundry about my parents and my background and everything that's bothering me in on this channel online, because I don't know where else to like vent, right, and kind of discuss about it, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one with family issues, right? Because everybody has family issues, everybody's family is also different, but like particularly more so I've been living with this discomfort for like 6 years. I'm 31 coming May, and it's still bothering me because now that I'm increasingly aware, hyperly honestly, that I'm autistic, everything that has been camouflaged or not really been out in the spotlight has now come out of the spotlight for me, and I'm realizing, hey, this is absolutely not acceptable. It's not right for me to be treated the way I've been treated all of this time. And it makes even more significant sense because I'm autistic, which means honestly I'm being a victim in my own family. Which truthfully, in like with everything, like it's like an onion peeled to the core, that's essentially what's going on, is that I'm being a victim in my own house, in my own family, because I'm autistic, and that I'm realizing the way I'm being treated is because people meaning my family, they're intimidated by me being autistic. But not only just me being autistic, the siblings, I have siblings, and they are the only people that know that I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and I did come out to them, although that didn't come out really well. That kind of backfired. I'm gonna make a separate episode about that, but like what we need to know now is that it didn't do so well, it didn't come out so well, it backfired, it didn't really go as my expectations would have thought it would, and that even though I came out, I feel like it's worse that they know. It's worse that they know, and it's worse because I came out. Everything is even more unsafe and wrong. And that not only am I being mistreated for being autistic, I'm also being mistreated for the fact that half of the family knows that I'm bi, and that they know what it is, not really. They have an idea, but also not really. But their overall entire attitude toward it was that it's not the, oh, okay, like it's not the I don't care in a way of, oh, okay, that's fine, who cares? It's the what does this have to do about me? I don't care about you type of I don't care. You understand you get what I mean? Like, so that's why I said that I'm the living prime example of how a coming out situation can backfire and still turn out like a living nightmare. Because all in all, when it happened, during it happened, after it happened, all I can remember was that it got worse, and then it flipped where I felt like it was not my time, but it was their time, and that I was I put myself in trouble, kind of, for telling my story. Because they turned it around and made me feel like I've disappointed the entire family roots or something. And also because when I busted out in a little history lesson to get them to understand more of the roots of how LGBT came to be, and speaking on the history of the Stonewall riot and how LGBTQ, like the letters, came to be, they looked disinterested. They were not really getting it. They were confused, and they were getting bored because I kept, you know me, throughout it's 21 minutes right now that I'm blathering, but like I have a tendency to go off on a tangent. I have a tendency to repeat things. I have a tendency to stutter and pause a lot. But that's just how I am, because again, difference in brain chemistry, difference in how I navigate life. They had, like, in their faces, to in my perspective, I felt like they had absolutely no patience to listen to me for however long, like, because they're the types to not care about detail, and I'm very highly detail oriented. They just want me to get to the point. They don't care about the explanations, they don't care about the history lesson, they don't care about the LGBTQ history community. Like, I bet you, with all of my LGBTQ listeners, if you're out there, coming out, and if you're ever coming out, or thinking about coming out in general is such a delicate journey for us. And if we so choose to tell a family member about us, it is imperative to make it our story. The story's about us. We're the important person in the entire room when that happens. And so to be flipping, to having the spotlight, to being it flipped halfway through and being bombarded with questions, being kind of maybe criticized, judged, or blamed while you're telling your story is a big fat no-no in the LGBT community. Because once that happens, immediately that time is no longer your time, it's no longer your story, it's no longer your identity. You are speaking on your identity, speaking on you as a person, because it's such an important belief, moral value to you. But however, the audience feedback, whomever you're speaking to, the audience feedback is negative, and so that shuts you out even more to ever speak on the topic again, or to ever face those people again, and vice versa. You get what I mean? So that's why I said I regret coming out, and because I don't know how to navigate them, and I don't know how to navigate around my siblings anymore. Because I said that I feel even more unsafe even after the fact that I've done it. And you can feel like that, which is totally also valid. But also it leaves you, for the rest of the day, the rest of the year, the rest of the time you're with said family, you just feel so... You feel so out of place. You're feeling more like an outsider even after the fact of whatever happened. And if you have delayed processing, like I do, and it hits you a lot later, that you're just like, oh my god, that just goddamn happened. Who am I? What am I feeling? What is this? Why am I so angry? This is why. Is because it's that they might know. So there's a difference between knowing and self-awareness, because this is also about self-awareness, and that they're not aware of whatever happens in their brain versus whatever then comes out of their mouths. How it comes out of their mouths really does affect people like me. And I think the big majority is because the more I know about me, the more I discover about me, and the more that I want to be open to them, the more that they won't understand, or that the more that they won't follow, because they are not from my world. Because if you think about it even further, the Greek root word autism translates to in one's own world. They're not even from my world. Let alone they're not even of the LGBTQ community, so of course they won't understand. Like, I mean, understand in terms of like, not in terms of information, like, oh, I know what pronouns are, I know what this, that, and the other are, I know what this means, whatever. Like, I mean, literally, if you're not physically relating to a certain community, or even if you haven't even learned about it, or like if you're not even interested in knowing about it, we're never gonna connect. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think with self-awareness comes if you care enough about something or someone in order for you to even go down a rabbit hole and research about it to learn more. That's how you can deepen your relationship with that someone. You can strengthen the bond with that someone. And the fact that I'm a family member and everything that I care about, it seems like they're disinterested about it and they don't want to know more, or they don't venture out to find out more, tells me what type of people they are and what type of people I've been living with. It's because I can tell you right now the entire goddamn family is neurodivergent, but I feel like I'm the only neurodivergent because I'm the only one that would go into extreme great lengths to read up on or research on certain things to get to know better about the thing or the person. Even if I'm not interested in it, but because they're someone that I care about or something, I will find the time to do my research. Because although I'm an introvert, I'm a people's person. Actually, honestly, really, truthfully, I like learning about people. I like learning things about personality styles, anagrams, psychology. I like learning about people. And I'm highly curious. And it's not because I'm a Gemini. It's a little bit of a stereotype that Geminis are really super highly curious and they're very witty. Might be true, might not be. Not for all Geminis, but for me, definitely I'm highly curious, intuitive, witty, humorous, and all that jazz. I don't think their curiosity will beat my level of curiosity, because if the more you get to know me, the more I ask a lot of questions, and I ask why a lot, to the point it might ignore someone. Not ignore, sorry, annoy someone. And this is why I honestly think, people should be more curious and question more things in life. Because what we know of as the norm today is not the norm it was back then, nor was it ever the norm, but we made it a norm, which is not right. So, yeah. Wow, it's almost half an hour. I'll let you in on a little secret. I only written half of the script for this, and I was winging the rest of the way through, because I was actually reading off of something, and then I knew that after I read that bit part, I would have to wing the rest of the way. So this is me. That was me, like maybe 25 minutes ago, maybe throughout till now. I was winging the rest of the way. So this is me trying the new revamped podcast direction, which is me winging my scripts going forward because I can't finish the script in time, and I really want to update my channel and have a lot of videos out for you guys to listen to. And so speaking on that, I hope I did a good job, even though, again, I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable speaking to myself in front of the camera, even though it might make me look like a crazy person. But I think that's all the time that we have for today. But I think also, before I go, I think going forward, I want to always recommend a book for all of my listeners to look into. Because I'm a big bookworm myself. People used to call me a nerd back in school. I want to recommend you for the third episode. Today's book is called Unmasking Autism: Discovering the New Faces of Neurodiversity. And this book is by Professor Dr. Devin Price. And I hope this will help you open up your eyes to a new world of us autistics. I'm currently still sifting through this book by myself. It's been years since I bought it, and it's taken me years to finish it, but it's a very, very interesting book that it made me not put it down for the longest time. And it's the only one book that I kept reading, and I'm like more than halfway done. That's how interesting it is. And if you get to reading it, I would love to hear comments on what you thought about the book, if you liked it, what you didn't like about it, what you found interesting, and all that kind of stuff. Going forward, my other episodes will include a book recommendation every episode, and so if you're a reader like me, I hope you would enjoy my recommendations and that you would like my books. There are some classics, there are some new books, and there are some famously known books. So I hope you all get to read with me and come along with me as I discover the new side of being a podcast DJ after such a long hiatus. And with that note, it's time to say goodbye. I hope today's tea warmed your stomach and satisfied your appetite. As always, I'm your host Ash, and I hope to see you again next time at the CSA Cafe. Bye!